Let me help you.
Now I see. Thank you. Can you hear me now? Awesome. Okay, good. So welcome again to the business of African fashion. Today, I'll be sharing 20 things that you need to change and adjust to really participate in the global economy and to expand your business, right? So thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining from. It's 10 a.m. here for me. But first thing I like to share when I'm hosting webinars or masterclass, particularly in the world of international trade, I try to say, you need to think about three markets, okay? Your local markets, your regional markets, and the international market. Always think about three markets, right? So your local market is wherever you are joining from. So my local market is here. Your local market is the country you're joining from. So you're joining from Nigeria, it's your local market. We could actually go deeper dive and say local, national, states, right? Depending on where you are, because the way business is done in your local market is different. So consider your local market, consider your regional market. So if you're in Africa, African region, other countries in Africa, I'm here, you have cross-border transactions in your region. And then international is really other countries beyond your region. And the reason I try to lay this solid foundation is because everything we're going to talk about going forward is within that context of everybody realizing that business is done differently in other parts of the world. So when you want to serve people in other parts of the world, you have to be conscious of the nuances and the difference in terms of how people buy and sell in the market you're trying to get into. So for example, if you want to go from Nigeria to Ghana, or Ghana to Cairo, or Cairo to South Africa, or Morocco, you have to be conscious, because what I see a lot of people do is make assumptions and they show up into those markets unprepared, without preparation. And when they don't prepare, then they wonder, okay, why is it not working? What's going on? So I really encourage people to approach all of these things as a student of it. Approach it as a student of it, because if you're operating in your local market, you know how your local market works. you know how to negotiate, you know how to engage, you know how to, participate in trade, right? You know where the physical market is. If you want to buy anything, you know where to go for those things, right? The same thing is true. Business is done across your border and internationally. So the real work ahead is understanding, how does that work? How does all of that, how does it work? Okay. So please mute if you're not speaking as well. Okay. So the format of today, as I'm going to dive into 20 things, the format is that I'm going to start with 20 things. I'm going to go really fast for the first 30 to 40 minutes. And then I'll bring more people on, because I want to also have a conversation. I want to also hear questions. I want to address questions. And the last part of today's session will be really based on conversation. Okay. So let's quickly go through the 20 things. I have my list so I don't skip anything. The first thing that has to change when you want to do business beyond your local market is mindset. Mindset. Even it's like the mindset of an entrepreneur. So I'm speaking today with fashion entrepreneurs. You're first an entrepreneur and you just happen to be specific to fashion. So there are things around entrepreneurship that, you have to always just, improve on. So there's a lot of personal development involved. So when I say mindset, these are things in my own coaching and group, all of that. We go deeper into it, but I'm going to summarize all of these 20 things, right? So the mindset of the first thing I want people to look at is we're in business to serve people. No matter where you are in the world, no matter what is happening in your local market, no matter how business is done in your local market, all of those things. The moment you start living living your local market, you have to understand that business is service, right? And in a way, there are certain places where people don't apply that same mindset, right? But again, the international landscape expects you to serve, right? We're in the business of serving people with our products and our services, and the competition is intense. You also have to have that mindset that you are competing with the rest of the world. It's a competition because people have options, okay? People have options, and people don't have to really engage with you at the end of the day. Again, this is what I mean by mindset. Mindset, okay, is that we have to know that there's more competition and people have options. So how then do you win under that framework? Is that excellence in service, excellence in delivery, excellence in customers, excellence in product creation. Excellence is required because you're competing with the rest of the world. The international market never lowers the standard for anybody. We are the ones to, attain. It's a mountaintop we want to attain. It's like the Olympics, right? You want to go into the Olympics. The best of the best gets in the game, and then you have to practice. You have to have coach. You have to be the best to actually compete and then win. So the opportunities are there, but it takes certain rigor and mindset. Okay. The other thing I try to share around mindset is that the way we see ourselves, the way we see other people, and the way we see the world always impacts how we show up, right? Because if you're not confident in the efficacy of whatever product, I use the word efficacy from a pharmaceutical standpoint, but if you're not certain of the quality, let's use the word quality, and efficacy is like how impactful it is that your product does everything you say it's going to do for the customer or the clients. If you're not confident in what you've created, how you show up, when people see those things, you can't deal, right? So again, there's a lot around mindset. There's a lot like things that, like I said, your local market, regional market, international market, whatever is the rule of the game, please know that business may not be done in the same way in other parts of the world. And if you're trying to serve people in other parts of the world, they are coming to you with a certain level of expectation. That's the key, is that people are coming at you like they're just expecting that they're just expecting that So it's our duty to really educate ourselves, to develop ourselves to that level. And in my academy, I have a class called How to Build a Globally Relevant Brand. That's also something that dives deeper into that space. So that's just number one. Let me run quickly. Your product. What do you need to do with your product? Right? What do you need to adjust in your product? And there's a lot around products where certain products may be winning in your local market based on the interests of the people you're serving, their tastes. But if you're trying to go to another market, you need to be aware that it may or may not work. Don't assume that the exact design and the exact thing, the exact way, the exact design of your product, is going to be embraced. And it's actually something you have to constantly take a look at, right? It's something you have to constantly shift. Because, so for example, if you're looking to serve the diaspora community, you can come in with an assumption that because they are diaspora and because you might have the same affinity for the same type of design or product, that you may be more inclined. But I'll tell you honestly, even diaspora is not looking for the same thing. I'll tell you, for me, I'm looking for something that kind of is in between Western and African. Just an example. So if that's the case, how do you then make sure that you're starting to understand those shifts in design that you have to make to serve those people? Now, if you want to serve African Americans, it's different things like other people. Just be aware. That's all I'm saying. Be aware. Okay. Don't assume that your design has to remain the same. So think about what changes do you have to do to your product. That's 2. Number 3, customer. What do you have to look at when it comes to your customer acquisition style, right? How do you acquire customers in the marketplace? How do you engage with them? Who are they? What are their aspirations? Do they want to reconnect with the African continent? Do they just want to have a feel of Africa? Are they missing? You have to know what those customers are looking for. Now, again, I always go back. Your local markets, your regional markets, the international market. So I'll give you an example of regional. I hosted Trade with Africa Summits this year. I host it every year for a couple of years now. And the ambassador for economic development and trade and investment for the continent from African Union, he was on, and he said something. He said Eastern Africa actually has a taste for fashion coming out of West Africa. Right? So Kenya, right? They're actually, because there are parts of West Africa, particularly, right? Let me not create any competition, right? Because I know Jollof war between Ghana and Nigeria is already hot. So let me not create anyone in fashion space again. So I won't mention names. But anyway, you know yourself. There's a certain country or certain countries that is known to be exotic. And I happen to come from that. You're known to be fashion forward on the continent. Like it's it's intense, like up to down, match. Look at me. So there's this desire for that country's fashion taste, just like that country's movie in the rest of Africa. Particularly Eastern Africa, right? So be aware of the customers interested in your product outside of your country, right? So again, number 1, mindset. Number 2, products. Number 3, customer. How you acquire them, how you engage with them, how you interact with them. You have to take a look. Those are things that we have to work on. Business model. Your business model is something as well that we always look at. How do you make money? Meaning, business model is a lot of things. I try to simplify it in the sense of you're creating a product, and your product actually has to come with service. So the fashion space, you need to realize that you're not just selling a product, your service envelopes your product. That's the unique thing about people. Don't just buy clothes. They do, but they don't. They're buying brand. They're buying a lot. How did you treat them, your customer service? So you have to not just think about your product, you have to think about the service, your service delivery as well. So your business model will encompass all of those things, and also your delivery, right? And then your monetization scheme. That's a lot, but I'll stop there. There's a lot to business model, but I want to run fast. Number 5, your distribution model. There's a lot of things that happen internationally where when you say you want to distribute, you have to look at the traditional distribution model, which is manufacturer, distributor, retail. E-commerce now allows you to go directly, right, to clients around the world. Fantastic. But there are still the traditional ways of distributing product where you focus on producing. I see more people. We now have a crowd here. Let me just pause because I see Mesiri.Academy. Thank you so much. I have to thank him, and not just thank him. I have to ask all of you privately to thank her very much, because she's the reason we are doing this. She's been at me. She's been coming at me like, oh, we need you. My group needs you. Fashion entrepreneurs, we need you. And, we tried September 1. I couldn't make it happen. And then I said, okay, before September, and I'm happy today, the last day of September, we're able to do it. So Mesiri.Academy, your dedication, tenacity is for real. That's what it takes. So yeah, they're clapping for you, Miss Civica. She's the one you have to thank. She's the one that's been she's
Thank
the
you,
one like
everybody. Thank you. I'll put
awesome.
on my video now.
Sorry,
Please
go
let
on.
me in from my tab. I want to use my tab. I'm waiting
Okay.
at the gate.
Okay, no
Yeah.
problem. But definitely after my presentation, I want to bring you on as well, because really this wouldn't be happening without you just being persistent and being patient and being like, and getting even the crew together, right? You pulled everybody together. So I have to thank you for that. So I'll definitely want you to speak when we're done. Yeah, thumbs up, and people are giving you thumbs up, and definitely you get your ovation. So awesome. Distribution model, think about the traditional means: manufacturer, distributor, retailer. In less sophisticated landscape, people don't do it. They want to do everything. You want to be the manufacturer, you ship it, you do everything, and that's fine. But just know that sometimes it might slow you from growing as fast as you want to. 6, your sales process. Taking a look at it, right? What's your sales cycle like? How long does it take from when you acquire a customer, delivering, all of those things, and how many new customers can you acquire every day, every month, every week? A lot of times in the international market, is actually not just reacting to today. A lot of it is projected into the future, meaning we're in 2021, right? But in the global supply space, particularly because of volume, 2022 production has already been signed and sealed in terms of purchase order. Why? Because if you're producing 1 million pieces of this, or this 500,000 pieces of this, the people to produce it, there's usually this 9 months, they need this time to go into the marketplace and source all the materials that they need. So that's why in the international space, the sales cycle and the sales process is very, very different. And the things they do, shows and, fashion shows, and the way it works is very, very different than, you're just waiting for foot traffic, for people to come to you, you do it, and then they go, right? No, in the business side, in international trade, it's purchase order agreements. It's saying, okay, can you produce this piece for me, this design, you agree on it. That way, you as the producer, you can go back, look at what you just agreed to produce, and look at where are you going to source the materials from, the button, the zip, all of the things, the labor, how do you structure? Sometimes as well, actually, particularly when the volume is high, you actually have to have a financing bank, because the people that you're going to supply to, they're not going to pay you up front. The legal agreement is the PO, right? That says they owe you when you supply all of these things. So usually in the international market, you then have to work with your financing institution, bank, to get that financing if you don't have it. And it's backed with the PO, because particularly if the buyer is reputable, right? And if they're an industry, because that's how the international market works, the bank ties whatever investment you need to that PO, because they will get paid when you get paid, right? So anyway, that's another topic entirely, trade financing. That's why it's important. We talk about it a lot on my platform, and we have a lot of the financing institution for international trade as part of our network as well. So the reason I'm sharing that is realizing that you may need to really do a deep dive and understand what that looks like. It will have to change, right? Because you can't go out if you've not done the work to have a relationship with a financing institution. It might limit your ability to capture trade opportunity, because you'll be like, I can't produce that. I don't have the capacity. I don't have the funds. But what people have is, once they have banks behind them, then they show up in the international market and they can, in a way, brag. They can show up. You will show up differently when a bank is saying, go out there and win. Okay. So make sure you start thinking about that. Because if you are already, remember mindset, if you already don't have financial backing, you will play small, right? You play small. But when you have financial backing, you're able to say, Toyin, where are they? We can produce. Okay. So just think about, there's a lot there. And those are the things that we have to look at and refine. It looks different for each person. And that's why I always encourage people to build groups, mobilize themselves, because of all of these things. right? Because particularly China, for example, they come to the international market, somebody gets that PO and they work together as a group, right? One person may not be able to produce all of those things in 2022, but they divide their standardization and all of those things. So let me keep moving again. These are things to look at. Your marketing strategy. How do you market yourself, right? What you do. Remember, if you are going from local market to regional market to international market, you need to be more visible, right? You have to be more visible, right? So if this is something you desire to do, visibility is important, because if you remain in the same cycle and if only the same type of people are seeing you and seeing your capacity, those are the people attracted to you. So thinking about your marketing plan, what needs to shift there? Your people, your people, how are you going to bring them forward? Because if you go out there, you're capturing opportunities, your people must be ready to perform at that level as well. So what do you have to do with your people? What type of training or upskilling do you have to provide for them? They too, just as you are transitioning and transforming, remember, they have to go with you as well. So if they are used to working with customers in your local market and behaving in the same way the local market requires of you, and all of a sudden you are now dealing at a different level, don't leave your people behind. Invest in them so that they can go into that future with you. Okay? Partnerships for growth. You don't do international by yourself. You don't. Because those the opportunities, the things that happen in the people, they mobilize and they come by themselves. Look around you, all the international people in your market, you see them as family, as groups, because it takes a whole lot to succeed in other markets. Think about that. What partnerships do you have to pull in place? If you want to expand into new markets, say in Africa, you have to start having partners, maybe a distributor or an agent or something, say in other parts of the continent, or even in US or UK, because the world is actually open. When you think about the rise of Afrocentricity, right? Demand for African products and everything is on the high. So we're not even going to talk about that. It's already here. We know it. Black Panther, people wanted, all things Africa, swords, jewelry, clothing, everybody wanted the taste. Africa sells. We know that. The key is, do you have the rigor and the business acumen to participate in those opportunities that is opening up, right? Branding. This is 10. You can tell I'm going really fast because I want to move into conversations and discussions, right? 10, branding. People's never underestimate branding. It is actually what gives you the ability to command value in the marketplace, the perceived value, not necessarily the cost. Sometimes people mix the cost of producing something to what people are willing to pay for it. They're not the same. They're not the same. The cost of producing something is your own cost as the producer. But the value you can command, what you can ask for in the marketplace, is a perception. It's a perception. And the way you manage that perception is through your investments in branding, your story, and the way you've branded your product, your company, yourself, everything. So again, I can't do this hard enough. Cost. The cost of producing something is for you to know as the producer. The price that you're going to put out there is based on so many different factors that you control. You control some of it, the market controls, but the one you control most is your brand. What does your brand say in your market? In the local market, in the international market, in the regional market? Because the other thing happens where people might have something in their local market, and then when it gets into the international market, the value jumps up. And they're like, yeah, it's because, again, it's a different market. The same thing that is sold in a certain country, the moment you had more value, you brand it well, you get it on a model, it looks good, you get it into the right luxury. Yeah, I don't have it. I did a live streams maybe 2 weeks ago, and I was wearing a bracelet. It was made in Uganda by Uganda women, rural women in Uganda. But the way it was branded, it's a luxury product in America because it's made well and it's branded well and nice models are wearing it. And it's in Neiman Marcus high-end store in the US. So don't look down on branding. Packaging is the same thing. Your branding, your story, there's so much. Each of these 20 items I'm going down, each of them is a full topic you have to study. Like there's a lot to each, but I'm just mentioning so that you know the work ahead, right? Okay, so branding, packaging, 12 technology, okay? Like in packaging, let me reverse. In packaging, think about barcodes, labels, tags, right? You may not need it in your local markets, right? People are just willing to take the clothes and leave. But in international market, your brand, your tag, your price tag, everything that people touch says something about you. Technology, how are you applying technology, right, to grow? I can say a lot about that, right? Social media, your website, inventory database, because these are things that the moment you say you want to grow, there are so many things you may be doing manually today that may no longer become efficient the moment you start dealing with so many people, right? Email, website, on and on and on. Technology. 13, your sourcing process, particularly in your space, in your sector, your sourcing process, how you buy. Today, you might be buying based on, like, your buying patterns limit what you can do. I'm sure you can agree with me, because the cycle of sourcing, you cannot just wake up and say, I need material, it's going to arrive today. It doesn't happen, particularly because a lot of your sourcing is still happening in other parts of the world. It has to be put on a ship. It's, particularly if you are doing volume, right? So you may have to start looking at, am I sourcing the right things? Or is there a way where I can lock demand that would also help me to source the right things? So your sourcing process, you have to keep looking at it. Where am I sourcing from? Do I have the right relationship with the right suppliers? Are they reliable? Again, these are things you have to get your hands around. Standardization, thinking beyond just yourself to your industry, right? You have sizing charts, UK, US, they're different. If you're engaging with customers in other markets, you have to know that. And I think Africa is also at a place where you all in the industry, on the field, you need to start thinking about, African sizing charts. You know why? Let me tell you why. Because this is a space, right? The sizing chart that is prescribed in other parts, they prescribe it for their own people. But if you look at the body of an African woman, it's not the same. Bottom and okay. Let me not say too much. You know what you are in the industry. We're not 12 above 12, bottom, right? The African body type is different. So I'll just put it out there. You all need to start talking about, what does the price sizing chart of an African body, what does it need to look like, right? And start prescribing, particularly under the AFCFTA, which I represent, is that Africa needs to start looking at its own needs, unique needs. So anyway, that's 15. 5 more to go before we start conversation. Your manufacturing process, okay? The more you start growing internationally, make sure you start incorporating things like quality management, quality process, how you set up your line, all of those things. It's your field. I won't say too much about it, but optimizing it, right? So that when you make a promise to a customer, you have everything, your operational side is able to fulfill it. Again, each of these things are things we go deeper into, because your promise to your customer impacts your brand as well, okay? So your manufacturing process, what do you need to do about it? What do you need to improve on it, right? And then I'm going into some of the softer things now. 16, the community around you, right? How do you support each other? And I'm going to connect it to the next one, networking, which is like, hopefully this is not the only time you guys all talk to each other and connect with one another as industry leaders, as industry members. like learning best practices, learning opportunities, working with one another. You, as an entrepreneur, it's a must. Because if you are doing this by yourself, sometimes people think you are, again, these are the things we say. I am very plain and direct. I say it as it is. You want to go international, please start thinking through about the industry, your community, your network, because you have to have the right people you can call for shipping, for branding, for packaging. You know, you have to have all of those things in place, right? You have to have like shipping, packaging, documentation. You have to have at the industry level, who should we call? Who is the best person for A, B, C, D? Those are things that you need to start looking at. Mentorship. Who are the people ahead of you that will help you advance? Who are the people that will invest in you? Investing in coaching, personal development, all of those things, right? Your value proposition, the promise you continue to make to yourself, your team, your employee, the markets, the people, right? All of those things, looking at them, right? Your mission, vision, right? You have to keep looking at those things. These are international standards, right? Because again, if you don't look at all of these things I'm listing out, right, they will come back and bite you as you want to grow. Because the growth, right, the growth you want to achieve, think about it as a house. If you don't lay the right foundation, these are things people may not be able to see. They might not be able to see the foundation. But when you put too much load on a foundation, if you are trying to build 4-story and now you're saying, I want to do 10-story, and you don't look at, and you don't show up your foundational things, and you don't put the right things in, when that pressure comes, it will overwhelm you, to overwhelm your people, your processes, your frameworks, all of those things. So this is the time to actually start looking around, right? About being honest. Like I say, it's time to work on the business, not just in the business, because sometimes every day just, keeps us all busy. It's not like we're looking for more thing, right? But as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, and particularly in the fashion space, right? These are things that nobody would do it for you. I wish you could outsource it, right? Going into this space is, you are asking for more. We're asking for more. We're asking for more opportunities, more. So you need more capacity. So the foundational structures needs to be in place. So, and then finally, I put one extra 21, continuous improvement. All of the things I just listed. Again, these are things we go more in depth to in, our 6 weeks program or one-on-one coach. It's a lot, but continuously improving all of these things. So the reason I spoke really fast is because I want to hear. So the format I'm going to use is, first of all, I'm going to invite Ms. Sidikat on, and then those who have questions or who want to contribute, you use the reaction or raise your hand. You use the hand raising functionality on Zoom, and then I'll bring you on. But first, I want to invite Ms. Sidikat. Unmute yourself. I want to get your initial reaction, and start your video, and it's your floor. You are the ones that rallied the troops, so unmute. Okay, awesome. Go on, please.
Thank you very much for honoring our invitation. I'm really happy. I feel really honored and that we are doing this, because I've seen over the years that we do a lot in Nigeria, especially. We do a lot. Our fashion is very, very big, like you said. But mostly we are not big on the international markets. So I've been looking like, this is something that I know many people, when we sit and talk among ourselves, you see this person is thinking international, this person is thinking international, everybody wants to go international, but not taking the right step. A lot of people just believe in that suitcase market, that one person that knows one person abroad. No, it's not like that. And I got my experience from in 2013, actually. In 2013, when I did an exhibition with Meridian. So at that exhibition, I brought my things beautifully made, neatly made, and I noticed the international exhibitors. The way they are approaching the market is different from the way I'm approaching the market, which is why I support the first thing you said, mindset. It was the mindset. The mindset I brought was entirely different from the mindset they brought. Now, because of my inexperience as at that time, I had, and there were no much Nigerian products on display then. The exhibition was at a hotel. I had cash and carry come to my stand. I had like 6 to 10 international businesses that came to me, but I didn't know how to go about it. You know, that is one book I kept in my shelf as part of my motivation, because that would have been something great for me if I understood the step by step, or I had belonged to an institution that does all the standardization and market entry trainings thereabout. I didn't have all those experiences or access to the mentoring, coaching, or association. So I was like, no, it can't be like this. And we keep telling people, come to this exhibition is happening, you go for the exhibition. That exhibition is happening, we go for the exhibition. Actually, people know they are going to make contacts. But how many people actually take advantage of that contact to push their business to the next level? I'm not saying that Nigerian businesses are not successful. They are. We make riches. But I'm still not saying that fashion wealth. You know, that wealth, that's...
Wow. I'm going to come in.
Yeah.
Okay. What you just said is powerful. We have to take a moment. No matter what you're making now, you can make more. Until you realize that, because the key is that I see a lot of people satisfied with whatever it is they're doing. And I engage with, I see that you can't help those people because they are full. If you are full, you can't, there's a certain hunger. No matter how much you have in your, or don't have, you must have a certain hunger for more in life. You have to. Because out here in this, nobody's going to offer you anything. Your hunger propels you forward. And in fact, that's one of the reasons there's a new program I just launched called 10X Growth. And the question I'm asking is, what will it take you as an entrepreneur to multiply your revenues by 10? And how long will it take you? Like it's this all, whatever number you're doing, multiply it by 10. What do you need to do to grow? And how long will it take? This might take you 3, 4, 5 years, 10 years. It doesn't matter. But start thinking that way. Because that's what we do. The biggest brands in the world, do you know what they do? When before they go into 2022, they do sales planning. Sales planning meaning the year 2022, looking at the number we did last year, looking at the number we did this year, how do we want to grow by 1%, by 2%, by 3%, by 5%? They name a number. They shoot high. And if they're saying they're shooting high, then they also say, where are we going to invest? Because we have to do things differently. They know they have to do things differently because the same behaviors would result in the same outcomes, all things being equal. So the more you're saying, I want to grow, put a number, challenge yourself, times 2, times 3, just say something and be clear. What do I need to do? It might take me 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, but at least make that declaration that you want to grow. Until you do that, really, nobody, just stay where you are. And I tell people, particularly, is that when you haven't seen somebody else's farm, you think your own farm is the biggest. And it's part of that mindset thing we have to tackle, is that you have certain countries where the market is so huge, people are doing good, but the day you see what other people are doing, you say, oh boy. Okay, I'll let you keep going now, but I wanted to just highlight growth as a mindset in your industry, in your space, and you have to push this. Nobody is going to come from anywhere in the world and impose growth on you. Right? Ms. Sidikat, right? You have to want it. Please unmute. Yes. Go on now. I'll mute mine.
You have to want it, because in 2016, I had a consultation with a company. Actually, they were just interested in things I.
Can you repeat that, please? Please repeat that. We missed you for a moment.
In 2016, I had a consultation with an organization, and the woman told me, do you know you can do 10 times or 6 times of what you are doing? And immediately I was scared. I was so scared. That fear, like, okay, how many tailors do I have? How many things do I do in a day? Can I meet up with this demand? And I was scared. But if we put all those things in place and do things as it's supposed to be, that fear is not supposed to be there. I saw the big picture that she was painting, but I was scared. Like I once told you, I was at a meeting with the consulates, US consulates, like 3 or 4 years ago. And one of the women addressing us about this international market was telling us about somebody that was told to produce 100 units of a kind of baby dress or something that she makes. And she fainted. Why? Because of that fear. That I'm sure the first thing is where do I start from? And that is where some of the things you spoke about, like the market planning that you said, all these sales planning, that it comes from. Definitely, if you have a plan for your sales, you would have prepared, you would have known your capacity, you would have known where you can go beyond or under, or who you can talk to. Then this is also something that is necessary among the organizations, the circle we keep, or the network that we keep as well. It's not just about, if you're on most fashion groups, you see people asking you how they make this skirt and blouse, how much should I charge this customer? No. When you know what numbers, that game of numbers, it doesn't even, if you want to go into the luxury market, and okay, I was looking at turban 2 days ago for one of my customers. So I have this mentee that wants to go into making caps. So I was checking cap styles for her, and we saw just a cap for 125,000 naira. We're like, wow, just this ordinary cap, There you see the ones on Konga Jumia pricing for 5,000, 4,000. Who says that you can't sell that cap for 120,000 too? No one. It's just the positioning, the market visibility, taking all the right steps, because serving even the luxury, or let's say the affluent community, is not easy. And when you want to go into the mass market as well, it's not easy. And that is where I'm happy you mentioned, when someone has financial backing, you will brag. Because everybody will tell you they want to own a factory, they want to own a factory. You can't do it if you don't have financial backing. There is a video on YouTube about Mrs. Ogun, Rough and Tumble. I've forgotten, I think Ogunlesi, about her, how she started. As at is it 94 or 2004? She got 25 million naira loan. But many people today, when they tell them, who do you look up to in the industry, they make someone like that the person they look up to. But are they ready to walk that she walked in order to achieve that market entry, visibility, and positioning? So that is one of the reasons why I was happy when I met you, because a lot of people are ready. I know a lot of people are ready to build that mindset. But what is the gap that is between doing what is right or getting access to what is right or what you have to do right is information. So where that information is scarce, it is possible that people will be doing what everybody is doing. I've had, in 2018, I launched a course for fashion entrepreneurs. Then I had this woman that had this very beautiful, well established fashion business. So she did the course. In fact, the course was very affordable. She did the course, then she called me. We spoke for like an hour, and she was getting frustrated before she did that course, and she realized that, wow, it's like she's doing something wrong, because everybody is telling her it has to be like this. I watched one of your video that you also said, bring up something different. I told her it may just be you doing something different. I have clients that don't know how to handle needle, but they are doing fantastic in their fashion businesses. It's just about you getting the right information, the right skill. You know where you want to go, then you get the skill for you to be able to penetrate that. It's not like everything is not necessary. Sister Tony, you said you have a fashion brand at the time.
Yes, I've played around in fashion.
Yeah, were you sewing then?
No.
You see, that is it. But you know, many people, when you tell them you can do it without actually handling the sewing machine, they don't believe it.
Yeah, and that's another thing we go into. We go into that because we actually have so many diaspora community that is waiting for us to do this work.
Yeah.
So that they can come in. All they want is they have their design, they have their label, you would handle production, and they want to distribute. So there are so many people, and that's one of the things like China benefited from, right? We need a production base in Africa, right? So people have to know that there are other people, and that's where that partnership, when I talked about your partners, right? Partnerships for growth. The partners could be buyers. So let me quickly add on to this, so that I want to make sure that people don't feel like everything I'm saying is unattainable. No, there are intermediate steps. Start where you are. There are buyers for you today where you are. There are buyers that want more and more and more. The more you grow, you attract more buyers. The more you grow. So right now, if it is 10, you can produce. If it is 15, if it is 20, be rest assured. In fact, we've made certain things, for our members, where there's a lady in northern Nigeria. She's just like any other, she sews in her house. She has a space in her house. But by coaching her and guiding her, she was coachable. She connected to the US market, exported face masks, and then also designed a kids clothing line for a lady, an African-American lady here in Texas that has a boutique store, a small store. So I want to make sure I really just also say that when I, even though I've worked for the biggest, I tend to talk, oh yeah, this is what they do. But I also acknowledge that we're going to grow people, baby steps. Where you are today, there are people you can start working with today. But we have to adjust, making sure you have a catalog, your pricing model, right? Because people are going to engage with you because they too want to make money from your product. So it's not just all of a sudden you have to design win-win. Your pricing must be reasonable enough that when they add on their own, all the work they have to do to market and distribute, they're also going to make money from you. So we do have those people as well, right? I happen to be one as well. I already have labels and different things. I have my liquid brand where, so we need to acknowledge. So we need to acknowledge, right? Start where you are. There are people right now that are looking for you as you are. And then you're, growing. And then that's why I said that 10x is your growth plan. It can be 5 years, it can be, but have a vision of growth for yourself. That's all. So I just want to make sure that I don't paint a picture of something that seems unattainable. It is attainable right now, like yesterday, right? I have people that reach out like, where can I find producer in Africa? This. But the way we converse, the processes and the frameworks we have to put around that relationship are those things I'm saying that when we do all this work, then we can now make those connections. But if we make connections, we found out that when people are not ready, you approach it with the wrong mindset. They ask you for pricing. You're not ready. Where is your catalog? You're not ready. What can you do? You're not ready. What's your style? You're not ready. So we don't make so that readiness process, getting ready for those engagements is important. So over to you, Ms. Sidikat, and then I want to take questions and comments as well. Oh, okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The readiness thing, I would like to speak about that too, because I still believe everything boils down to the mindset. Because this readiness, having the catalog, like I told you, the experience that made me turn into a talker, like mentoring and coaching people. Like I told you, the way I came for that exhibition was different from the way they came. In fact, when I was preparing for that particular exhibition, they told me, you don't actually have to come with too many products. And it is right, because if I had my processes in place, my catalog, my samples, and all those things, I don't need to have sleepless nights making one piece of each of about 200 things. Then another thing is this I'm glad a lot of fashion entrepreneurs are thinking in that direction now, that they are making one piece of item in different sizes and in numbers, So this bespoke kind of production is what we've been trained to do, the actual doing the Owambe style, all the, like you said, when we started having everything well packaged and with all those accessories and all that. So people need to know what their market out there also need, because it's not everybody that is actually prepared for that market. Yes, what you want to sell, there are people that actually want to buy. But at the same time, you still need to produce what they are ready to accept. So that part too of readiness is something that I see that is very necessary. Let's take questions then. I'll talk more about why I'm really interested in this conversation. Thank you.
Yes. So please just raise your hand, if you have a question or comment or insights you want to share. I really want to, the benefit of this also is contribution. Everybody benefits from your contribution and your experience as well. Okay. Olurotimi Abiola, you want to talk? You're unmuted right now. Okay.
Not yet.
Okay. Okay. I see Shitu. Yeah, please go on, and if you want to come on video as well. Unmute. Yes. Shitu Kauta Shitu. Please go on.
Yeah, my name is Kauta Shitu.
Awesome. You can go. You can go on video if you want as well.
I'm not.
Okay.
I don't
Okay.
want to
Please go on. Go on then. Awesome.
Now, please, my question is that if someone has been doing bespoke for all our fashion life and just want to transit into the, I'm so sorry.
Hi, baby. That's a new baby. How old is your baby?
4 months.
I can tell. I can tell with the cry of a voice. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Yeah, well done.
Yes, ma. Thank you.
Okay.
So if you just want to transcend into the ready-to-wear industry, what opportunities are available? If you have not even started production, the way you talked, it seemed overwhelming, kind of.
Oh,
so
that's why I need to bring it down. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's very simple, right? What people may not even realize is that, it's actually simple to go into that space than to do what you're already doing right now.
I just want to I just want to know the opportunities available, like what's really the need out there.
Exactly. So the
know what to harness.
Exactly. So the key is the main difference is you have to become a specialist. So there's let's say in medical care, there is generalist, family doctor that sees everybody for everything. And then there's a specialist that you only go to a specialist for certain things. So the key is you cannot be a generalist in trying to streamline your process. You have to build structure, because what usually happens, and I'll shoot really straight, I'll talk directly on this topic so that people can understand. Your mindset is usually what is determined, because you want to eat your cake and have it. That's usually what happens where people don't transition, because it is perceived in certain instances that the current model, you make more money because it's not standard. You measure, it's more hands-on. You can charge up, you can do anything because they're not really comparing you. The moment you switch to the other model, it's different. The way you price things and the way you distribute, and it's now a volume game. What usually happens between people trying to switch is that they want to play in the middle, and then they even argue, they talk themselves out of the other piece because maybe they've not seen other people make so much money in the other way. So it starts with mindset. If you know the way money is made in the other method is different from what you're doing right now, what usually happens is you have to narrow down on your style, and that's why they do seasonal releases. You say maybe the next 3 months, this is the style, these are the patterns, this is what you want. You have to do a lot of market research to come up with that style. It can be 5 styles, it can be 10 styles. You can say, okay, you only want to serve women going to the office, maybe bankers. Like, you have to become a specialist, because you cannot be a generalist. You'll be all over the place. So it's like, I want to only create products for women, working women who want to look a certain way and a certain design and you have to narrow it down. And then what you have to then do when you standardize that process is, guess what? Now you don't even have to only sell, say, in Lagos. You can take that same pattern, take it to Abuja. They won't see each other. With the market you have and the size, you don't have to limit in just because you cannot saturate a small market with the same design. It doesn't happen, particularly in a country like Nigeria. People want fashion forward. Like, I don't want to see my clothes, which you understand. So all of a sudden, the way you grow in the other model is you serve your local market, but then you go to other states. So you now find out in a 3 months process, the same design, you can distribute it to 5, 6, 7, 10 states. The same design, because the women are not likely to see each other. They don't know. You put it online, different people from different parts are ordering it. So the way you make money in standardizing is different. But if you want to remain in your current framework, then it's one-on-one. It's one-on-one. And then you charge high. You make all your money from a few customers, which is fine. But it requires a different shift and a different mindset shift to start making money in a standardized process. Actually, you sleep better if you figure it out. because you've already planned. You know what designs your team is going to make over the next 3 months. And all you have to do is like, okay, we need to send it to Abuja. We need to send it to Ogun State. We need to send it to Kwara, right? And then you put it online, and the more people buying, you already know the patterns. You can source the same materials. You will sleep better and you'll be more rested. But again, most people don't go that route because it requires you to actually build a solid foundation before you can win. Okay. I see question. Did that help? Did that help you?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
I appreciate it.
Yes, and I see someone typed, Bumi says we are airing venturing into ready to wear here and there. Please, how do we stand out from the general market? She said, I just have a feeling that there is no new thing in the fashion industry. Whatever you are doing now, thousands of people are actually doing it better. Okay, this is a great one. Thank you, Ms. Bumi. So earlier I talked about branding, packaging. See, the way the God has made us, there are billions of people in the world, but you don't have the same fingerprint. So your fingerprint in the same industry, you have to trust that your creativity is a gift. This is where mindset also comes into play. Because the moment you believe that you're not unique, then you don't trust your creativity. Okay, so the first thing is trust your creativity, that your hand, your production, whatever it is you produce in the world comes with your own DNA, the way you see the world, that you can put a twist on it. So that's a mindset adjustment that we all have to make. Otherwise, let's go. There's nothing to do if the whole world has created anything. But while we are talking here, do you know how many things they've already created in China? Even if it's a copy, they'll still copy. So it's a mindset. That's the first thing. Now, it's also strategy. Strategy is there are different permutation combination of doing different. And I see Ms. Sidika, you want to come in. Please come in. Unmute. Yeah, I love this conversation. Come in.
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
I've also read the question, and is really a good question. Yes. Because she said everybody is doing ready to wear. Everybody is doing ready to wear. We are doing ready to wear. Even in our market here, I don't think our products are flawed.